Hey everybody, welcome to the Fuel to Fight podcast. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Nick Behringer. We are in a new studio for 2024 with an awesome guest to start things off. Well, yeah, go ahead. You want to introduce yourself? I was going to introduce you.
You can introduce me.
You want to take over this podcast, Joe?
No, sir.
Joe, you going to take it over? No, Lieutenant Joe Dzubak. He's a student here at the Master's Program in Nutrition. But Joe?
Well, yeah, I'm Second Lieutenant Dzubak. Starting my second year now.
Second year, yes, you made it.
So it's made it through 1 year already. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah, and the reason we have Joe here is because one of the things with the Master's Program in Nutrition we want to do is give the students perspective, and we're going to give you the unvarnished. We're going to talk about why Joe came to the program, and also we'll cover kind of his path and what you can expect going to the program. That's the goal of this. So first things first, Joe, why did you join the Army?
I joined the Army specifically because of performance nutrition and performance in general, strength and conditioning, everything involved with performance. So that was my main thing. Once I saw this program through you, sir, that's when I got really excited about wanting to serve my country and wanting to get into the fray and do as much as I possibly can for the soldier, performance-wise.
Yeah, because you stand out because I was at West Point at the time teaching. I think if I remember correctly, and you were a strength coach.
Yes, sir.
And reached out to me, emailed and was like, "Hey, I want to be an Army dietitian." And the path that you took, I mean, it was 2 years, 2 years of work. And I just remember I had a lot of people reach out to me over the years who want to be Army dietitians. And what was different with Joe was I would be like, all right, hey, this is what I recommend you do. And I would get like a sit rep 3 months later where you're like, okay, I did this, this, and this. What's next? Yes, what's next? And so, the fact that you did that 2 year journey, you were that committed is commendable. But so, with the strength coach piece, now you were working H2F.
I was working as an independent contractor, so
Okay.
It wasn't specifically H2F, but I was working with soldiers who wanted a little extra help, as well as local gyms and working with some of the Georgia National Guard members as well. And this was all from Minnesota because of COVID. So it was like during that time.
So it was working remote while you're doing that.
Yes, sir.
And because your undergrad is in.
So my undergrad's in business administration with an emphasis in criminal justice, kind of did some switching around during undergrad, but then I got my master's in exercise physiology from University of Wisconsin-River Falls.
Nice. So exercise, phys, performance, want to add the nutrition piece. What was the one thing, I don't know if we've ever actually covered this even privately, like what put the MP, now the master's program in nutrition, then the graduate program in nutrition, like on your radar?
I believe it was a podcast with you. I think it was like Monarch Human Performance podcast.
Yeah.
So I was listening to that while I was at the gym, and I'm like, wow, this is what I want to do. Because long story short, was going to be joining the Navy as a surface warfare officer, and then heard that. I'm like, well, that's up my alley with performance and everything. So had to jump on the opportunity and messaged you.
Monarch Human Performance. I'm trying to think of that guy's name. Great individual. He became a physical therapist.
Okay.
I think he's out of the UK, but anyway, Monarch Human Performance. Great program. So you did all your work. Now you're in the master's program in nutrition. Can you describe that first semester? Like, how did that feel being a student? Or even before that, let's back up. Coming into the Army, that process.
Okay. So coming into the Army, it was, coming straight off the street, going to direct commission course and then going to BOLIC. It was definitely a good experience. The move went fairly smoothly and getting all of like the process. We can backtrack even further. Getting my recruiter, that was an interesting thing. Ryan McDonald, Sergeant First Class Ryan McDonald out of JBLM, he helped me, and I was like, I think you got me in contact with Major Majoni, who then got me.
Lori Majoni, I know she's a machine. Shout out to Lori Majoni.
Yeah. So going through that process and that 2 years of making sure everything was squared away and good to go, and then getting into the Army, going to DCC, coming here first.
And that's the direct commission course. Remember, some people listening to this isn't gonna.
Yes, sir. So the direct commission course out of Fort Sill, Oklahoma. So that's like about a month-long program. So that was just to get us ready to go to BOLIC. which is the basic officer leadership course. And so that was here at Fort Sam. So that initial, 4 months or something like that was strict Army and nothing to do with nutrition, but understanding the organization as a whole.
And then you come into the program.
Yes, sir.
So again, now let's go. You went through all the training, Army officer, first semester in the master's program nutrition. Can you talk a little bit about expectations versus reality?
Yes, sir. So expectations, I expected to, one, I came in specifically for performance nutrition and wanting to be a performance dietitian, not really fully understanding what a dietitian has all-encompassing wise. So going through that first semester and really not hitting any sort of performance, not getting any sort of performance nutrition, strength and conditioning, it was definitely hard. I had a tough time with getting that through my head of like what an actual dietitian is and like what's fully expected to for me as a Army officer and an Army dietitian, which is everything. We're supposed to be the jack of all trades, and so not fully understanding that was definitely a hard adjustment period that made me reconsider a lot of what I actually wanted to do, and maybe even made me reconsider being an Army dietitian altogether.
Yeah, and we had said before to talk about that, because that's one of the struggles, and I didn't want to hit on that. Anytime you transition, I think, to anything in life, you make a big transition, there's going to be those unexpected hurdles. And so, again, Joe and I had talked about this before the podcast, but that first semester, it was a little rough because, you were learning a lot of nutrition aspects that you weren't necessarily interested in at the time.
Right.
And you weren't getting any of the stuff that you were really interested in.
Yes, sir.
And I think with any academic program, you might face that, and so you start to question. I did that as an intern. I had that exact same struggle when I first came in as a dietitian. I'm doing all this stuff. I remember with food service in particular, and I didn't sign up to do food service, but once I got over that hump and learned that, and so I wanted to highlight that, and thanks for sharing that, Joe. Is coming into the program, realize, we're going to give you as much information as possible. You're going to listen to this podcast. You're going to have that information. But there's going to be some things that you're not going to expect. There's going to be some challenges that are going to arise. And where I really commend you is you hit that bump in the road, but rather than being like, hey, this is not for me, you saw it through, you're here now, and I think you're happy with your decision. Now you're going to fast forward.
I am, yes. Fast forwarding over to starting year 2, it's, fully seeing like what the Army actually has to offer for dietitians and what a career potential could be is really what's keeping me going and keeping me throughout all this. And let alone that, I've actually become very interested in everything that a dietitian has to offer. Like food service, can be fun if you want to make it fun. Same with doing clinical stuff that you might not as be comfortable with, especially like doing stuff, kids-wise, working peds and stuff. It's definitely not a strength of mine, and what I really enjoy about this program is it puts us in those situations where we're not strong in it, and you're trying to figure out ways to succeed and be the best student, officer, future dietitian that you can be. And leading forward into going into year 2, we have a lot of more sports nutrition. We have H2F, getting to work with interdisciplinary teams, going to other locations, working with Army H2F. It's a very exciting time to be in this program and to be learning as much as I can, especially from the bunch of subject matter experts that MPN has to offer.
Yeah, no, I think that's great in that, that first year is going to be, transition, learning a lot of stuff you might not be comfortable with, and then the second year, now you're getting to do it, and you get some application. So you worked with the Air Force Special Operations a little bit. You got to go out and teach them. Can you talk a little bit about that and some of the stuff you did out there?
So for one of our classes, I believe it was public health, we got the opportunity to go to the Air Force Special Operations Training Wing at Lackland Air Force Base, and we got to teach them all about performance nutrition, teach them about how they can optimize their diet for the training that they're receiving, and also kind of sneak in some extra calories that will keep them going and hopefully not make them more injury prone and things like that, especially with special operations training and how much they're going through, especially training in the heat and calorie deficits and things of those nature.
Yeah, it gets hot here in Texas in the summer.
Very hot.
You have experience. That might be the other thing. You might warn people coming from Minnesota is like, when you do come to San Antonio, be ready. The heat's coming during the summer. Can you highlight some of the things about the program that you really enjoy that maybe were unexpected or different from the programs you would have got if you would have went in the civilian sector?
The people here is I think astronomically different than other programs. Coming from another master's degree, I didn't have the relationship building that I had there that I have now. Like we get to, being together with 15 other individuals, you really get to build that network out, and then also getting to be in the Army network already. Like you have a guaranteed job upon graduation. Like no other place
nice. It's pretty
can
nice.
say that you have a guaranteed job, and especially having different paths to take. So that I didn't really expect as much, because you could be someone who's very clinically focused going into an outpatient setting, and they're going to get that experience and then that network on top of it, so they can move to something they want to do and to provide that value to the Army. For me, seeing the H2F expanding and going to different special operations groups, like that's really keeping me like driving as hard as I possibly can to get to those spots, and that's what I really didn't expect to see, how much H2F is opening up and how much they're wanting to bring dietitians in, and that seeing that preventative approach instead of reactionary as the old Army used to do.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a dietitian.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot of opportunities. I'm a little jealous. I kind of, but
you
no.
set the stage, sir.
Yeah, so you do have some great opportunities, and I like that you hit on as far as your group and your cohort, because again, something I experienced is compared to my some of the folks I stayed in touch with from college. Is here you kind of, and not to be cliche with the the military and the family thing,
Mm-hmm.
but you build that family kind of network, and those people that you go through the program with, especially if you stay in the military, you're going to see throughout their career. An example with Lieutenant Colonel Joetta Khan, who we'll have on here later. I've known her for 20 years. We went through the internship.
Mm-hmm.
She was at Walter Reed, I was at BAMC, but you have those colleagues that you can lean on and call on, and then. If you're not good, you mentioned pediatrics.
Mm-hmm.
I know, because I've worked with those dietitians from coming in the Army, like, hey, who's the best at pediatrics? I know who to call. Mm-hmm. I know you always have somebody kind of in your Rolodex to lean on. So I think that's one of the strengths of the program. What advice would you give to students listening to this now, especially, let's say, if you're an exercise science student, because that's one of the things we've opened up, where half our class is non-nutrition majors, which I think is awesome. What advice would you give to them now to best prepare them and get them ready for this program?
Best advice I can give is to fully understand what a dietitian does, because the Army will place you where the Army needs you. So you're going to get to performance nutrition, you're going to get to that ex-phys, you're going to get to working with those soldiers, working with special operations and stuff. At some point in your career, you will get to it. If you really want to get to it, you will get to it. But on the other hand, you have to act as a dietitian, because if we do go to war, you will be that subject matter expert in that position to work with soldiers, whether they need enteral nutrition or total parental nutrition and things of that nature. You have to understand everything that a dietitian does and excel upon that. So if you really want to join this program, I strongly suggest you take more nutrition courses than what is recommended to join, so you can get that overall understanding of what is going to be expected of you as an Army dietitian. But just to backtrack a little bit, you will get to where you want to go. The Army has tremendous opportunities for you to choose any sort of career path that you want, and I don't think you can get that anywhere else in this country right now.
Yeah, no, a lot of opportunities, kind of coming in, and I like that advice as far as taking more broader nutrition classes than maybe you're interested in. What has been the most challenging thing? We talked a little about your first semester, but what's the most challenging thing about the program if you had to put your finger on one thing? What's challenged you the most?
Yeah, coming from that ex-phys background and the business background, the toughest thing is that clinical nutrition mindset. Like, I came from the performance world where you didn't really need any of that. You kind of already had a picture of what an athlete or that cohort of athletes you're working with is already doing, and you pretty much already understand like what they are as a person. Like, coming from the strength coach side, like, I could understand like, oh, this person's got like a bilateral lower deficit, something of that nature for squats or deadlifts. On the clinical mindset, like, I had no idea. That was the hardest thing, like just trying to understand all that physiology. Like, yes, I took multiple physiology classes for ex-phys, but it wasn't nutritionally related or more medically related. And that was the hardest thing, going through the medical nutrition therapy all of last year. That was tough, but the cadre here are amazing at making sure that you are progressing and understanding and excelling within the program. But medical nutrition therapy, 100%, look into that before.
Get ready. What's been like kind of the highlight of the program? And you can multiple things, or is there one thing that's like, there was a moment that you're like, yes, this is why I'm here?
I got two for you.
All right, I like it.
So being able to work with the special operations out of Lackland, that was
great group.
That's what really kept me wanting to come back. Is like, yes, this is 100% what I wanted to do, and throw a curveball. But I also really enjoyed the clinical side of things. I really enjoyed working with patients that you really don't know. There is no specific answer to make them better, but you're trying to work around different ways to progress them out of the hospital so they can have a better quality of life. So I really enjoy seeing both sides of the house. Like, I didn't ever expect I would like clinical as much as I'm starting to.
So the clinical, and I had that exact same experience, and I think we talked about that, excuse me, in that I was not a clinical person. I kind of wanted to go performance, but then, I loved the burn ward. I remember volunteering to do extra reps on that, because just the detail and, and especially you have a passionate clinical instructor with, Major Nicole Curtis. And so you get and it's contagious, right? When you have somebody who's very passionate about a topic, even if you're not passionate, you're like, hey, what's this hype about? What I want to learn a little bit more about it. So that's great that you found that. What about the physical training? Now you've been leading some physical training. We've been doing some physical training, some rucking. Do you want to talk about that component of the program?
So as an Army officer, you're held to a standard to be able to excel at any sort of physical event. You have our PT test. You should be aiming to max it out, not just trying to pass. I'm a strong supporter of trying to get to maxing it as much as you can, because you just never know what could be happening in the future. But physically wise, a lot of it is on you to make sure that you are being able to pass those events. Rucking we do once a month, and I would say as a group, you should be doing a little bit more hand on your own. Take the onus on you to be able to progress and be able to carry the weight and go forward, as well as PTing on your own as well. So it's a lot during this program. A lot of it is on you to keep yourself physically fit, and I would say it arguably helps with a lot of the stress that's coming through the program as well, giving that outlet to go out there and exercise as much as you can. But if you're coming in prior service, it's not the exact same as you're used to of PTing 5 days a week. It's a little bit more stepped back, but you still have the same expectations, so everything's on you more so.
And talking about that, because I think this is, especially having you with your strength and conditioning background, certified strength and conditioning specialist through the National Strength and Conditioning Association, how would you recommend that folks listening to this, let's say, hey, I'm coming to the Army. I might not have an athletic background. I don't know how to train. I see this Army combat fitness test, sprint, drag, carry, whatever. Where do I start? Is there any recommendations? I know I'm kind of throwing that out there to you, but like, where would you maybe point people to best prepare for that?
The Army has some great resources to help with coming from almost like couch to 5K type of thing. The Human Performance Center.
Yep.
So they have there's a website out there, the HPC, that has like all sorts of different resources that you can start to look at to understand how to best prepare your body. I would strongly recommend if you've never exercised before to go ahead and start with a couple of sessions a week of full body training. So you're going to hit, your upper body, lower body through multiple different domains. So your body is starting to get prepared. Because the last thing you want to do is show up to a direct commission course not knowing how to do a push-up or not knowing how to do basic movements, because not to say you'd look dumb, but you'd look dumb. And so, I mean, really a lot of it has to do with doing own research and starting off probably with a full body routine. If you've never ran before, start going for walks, stuff like that. Start building up to being able to go for a run. Maybe do 30 seconds on, a minute and a half off, things of that nature, just so you are getting some sort of movement in. That's where I would say I would start.
So yeah, start off slow, but show up prepared. I like that in terms of, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, hey, I might, want to be an Army dietitian, and you currently don't have a training program, start training.
Yes.
Start training now. You can look up the Army Combat Fitness Test. You can study for the test. There's no surprises on the test. There's no surprise event like, oh, now you're going to do this. No, it's you've got the standards in front of you. So prepare for those. And I would even go as far as, especially on your college campus, they're going to have ROTC.
Yes.
Find the ROTC folks. Get with them.
Go to the strength or go to the gym. A lot of them have personal trainers for free.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and utilize that. You can utilize ROTC, see if you can join in and not necessarily have to go into ROTC, but maybe take a ACFT just to kind of get a baseline of where you're at.
So it's not your first time taking it when you come in the Army. I think that's a nice thing if you can go ahead and get that, because there's also a little test anxiety. I think the first time you take something, especially a physical test, and that pressure. So if you can go ahead and kind of know what's coming, definitely will help you out. You got any book recommendations or any things for read, or even maybe podcasts or things for people to consume? Information that might help them prepare for this program or for the military?
Right. Okay. Let's see. There's a Sigma Nutrition Radio. Shout out to them. They're a British group. They've got a lot of good overall nutrition. I like The Athlete's Gut. That's a good book. Let's see. If you're really into strength and conditioning and understanding stuff and really want to dig into it, Super Training. I'm going to throw that out. I know
Verkhoshansky, Russian. That's deep. But go on.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
I would say those would be the top ones that I would recommend right now. Oh, also I like RP Strength. So they do a lot of nutrition, strength training.
That's a Renaissance periodization.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. They have a good. What is it, Dr. Mike Isratelli?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've seen his stuff. No, that's some good stuff. Any accounts like on Instagram you follow that were for good information? Or
there's right off the top of my head. Let's see if I can do this. So I do like Renaissance periodization. Diana Wynn, she puts out.
Diana Wynn's great, dietitian. Yes,
amazing information on there. Let's see. Oh yeah, Major Springer. She changed her name. Bridget.
Schoonover. Yeah, it used to be Grimes. Yep. She has great information on there too.
Right. That's.
I put you on the spot.
That's at the top of my head.
It.
Yeah, that's all I got right now.
So that's where you get some good information. Mm-hmm. Can folks if they wanted to reach out to you and ask questions, or I'm putting you on the spot. Are you comfortable with that? Or
I am, sir. Yes, I am. If anyone wants to send me messages asking about the program, process of getting in and stuff like that, definitely shoot me as many messages as you'd like. I'll get back to them.
Okay. You want to give them your?
Oh yeah. So my handle is Joe Dzubak. So it's JOE, and then Dzubak is spelled DZUBAK.
Okay, and I can put a link, if you want me to reach out if they have any questions. Well, Joe, hey, thanks for coming on. It's been great. It's been it's always great talking to you, doing great things, and I can't wait to see kind of what you go and do in the Army. if there are any folks at special operations units listening to this and they want a dietitian,
I'm your guy.
I might know of one that wants to go through that. But again, hey, thanks for listening. And if you have any questions, I'll drop the stuff in the show notes so you can ask Joe about the program. Thanks so much.
Thank you.